Let me check. I meant to use another platform too. This will have to be. Let me see and double check. Okay, I can see myself. Can I hear myself? Yes. Cool. I did this correct, I think. It's been a minute since I did some lives, so I didn't even know. And I went and even put like lipstick on for you guys. Cool. What are we studying today? Today we are studying the AWS Solutions Architect Exam. Hey, I think I'm on a little roll since I just passed my Cloud Plus exam. So I'm like, let's keep the momentum and studying going, because once I stop studying, I like fall off. So I want to do AWS next. A lot of people on my Twitter said that they want to do the AWS Solutions Architect. And then next I want to do the GCP Cloud Engineer one, and then SISM, a PhD. Like there's a lot going on. So we're going to start one by one with the AWS Solutions Architect. I have the textbook. I want to say it's the version before the last one, because they don't be putting out the new PDFs out like that that quickly. I can double check. Actually, let me bring everything up. I'm here. I went live and I didn't even put everything together, but I knew I was running a little late. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. So that's why I wanted to do the other platform, because there's a way for me to show like people's thing. I think you could. I think I just have to click on it, but I'll do that. Hey, what's up, Major? All right, let's get started. So with the first exam, how do I hide what he said? Can I? Okay, there we go. I want to start with the assessment test, and then maybe do some chapter 1 study notes. I want to take a walk before it gets dark. Over here on the West Coast, I know on the East Coast it's already dark. You guys are already in the darkness. Cool. Let's do side by side, and then I'll share my screen. This is ugly, but it's not what I wanted it to look like. Perfect. Cool. Let's come all the way up. Let me share. I want to share this. There we go. Cool. Is it big enough? Nah, I gotta do everything. I'll figure it out for the next one. But anyway, I'm doing the official study guide, AWS Certified Solutions Architect, associate exam. I have this book in PDF version. I'd be happy to share. And this is what I'm going to be using as a primary reading material. And then I also have like some other subscriptions to some like O'Reilly, Udemy, some other ones that I'm going to be pulling some practice questions, practice quizzes from, and that will be on Sundays, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I said. So on Sundays, we'll do a Zoom call. I did that for the Security Plus exam, where we kind of just all got on a Zoom call. I think it was no more than an hour. We did somewhere around 30 to 60 questions just to do a practice. And it wasn't anything super intensive. It was just really, again, another source for people to be able to learn and study from. And that's what I'm trying to provide as I'm studying. So like, these are the ways I study. I read the book, I do practice questions, and I kind of just really test myself each week. And it doesn't have to be long. I know some people spend a whole bunch of time, like a couple hours a day studying. Like, kudos to you who have the ability to do that. I just do not. Not with a full-time job and just a life and other goals that I'm trying to do or other things that I'm trying to do. And I like to play video games. I've been playing Animal Crossing nonstop for the past week and a half. I've been renewed with my Animal Crossing, so I just do not have time to be spending all those hours doing that. Well, my mom's about to walk in the door. Anyway, I plan to take maybe an hour or two a week. I'll spend an hour doing this, maybe another hour on Sundays, and go from there. So we can go ahead and get started. I have not gone through this textbook yet. I have not gone through anything, and I have not worked in AWS in a minute, so we will see how this works. Can I just click on it? No, instead I took the long route. I don't want the acknowledgements. Why are you doing this? Okay, there we go. Cool. Assessment test. Do not show the sidebar. Cool. Let's start. The way I typically do this, do these live, so to speak, is that I typically take some notes for a chapter, but since this is an assessment test, clearly I'm going to bypass that because I'm not going to be able to take notes for an assessment test. But if this was a chapter, I would go through chapter, highlight some of the kind of bold words or things that I think are important, and then we would take something like an assessment test at the end of each chapter. So this one I think has 25, so we'll go through 25 questions now. And then if I have time, I'll go through chapter 1. Otherwise, I will figure out how to share that out, or maybe I'll come back tomorrow just for like half an hour just to do study notes. And this will be an hour just for questions. So an assessment test, I have most of the textbooks that you'll find, and an assessment test is not supposed to be, I think people get really in their head whenever they take one. I know personally that I'm one of those people who do so, but it's really, again, an assessment to see like where you are. So just kind of take it and don't spend too much time on it, just trying to figure out like where you are on the AWS scale and how much you need to like actually study. And this will show you what chapters that you should actually study for. So number 1, under a single AWS account, you have set up an auto scaling group with a maximum capacity of 50 Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2 instances in US West 2. When you scale out, however, it only increases to 20 Amazon EC2 instances. What is the likely cause? We got A, auto scaling has a hard limit of 20 EC2 instances. B, if not specified, the auto scaling group maximum defaults to 20. C, the auto-scaling desired capacity is set to 20, so auto-scaling stopped at 20. Or D, you have exceeded the default EC2 instance limit of 20 per region. So I set up an auto-scaling group with a maximum capacity of 50. So we know C is out because we set our scale to 50, not to 20, so C is out. Auto-scaling has a hard limit. I want to say no, because typically for cloud service providers, they wouldn't put such a short scaling limit, especially if like, say if this was a Black Friday, like they definitely are not about to limit how much you're scaling. So I want to say A and C is out. B, if not specified, the group maximum defaults to 20, which is kind of the same. Or D, you have exceeded the default EC2 instant limits 20 per region. What did I just tell myself? Not to go too hard on it. So if I think, oh, I read that wrong. See, reading is fundamental. It has a maximum capacity of 50. Okay, cool. So actually C might not be out. Wait, no, C is out. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna think too much on it. Anyway, so I'm going to say that my answer, I don't think there's a limit. I don't think there's a capacity. I don't think there's a hard limit. I'm gonna say B. And we'll see if that's the right answer. Number 2, elastic load balancing allows you to distribute traffic across which of the following? Only within a single availability zone, multiple availability zones within a region, multiple availability zones within and between regions, multiple availability zones within and between regions, and on-premise virtualized instances running OpenStack. That's so specific. Okay, So they're asking, what does the load balancing allow you to distribute traffic across? Now, I'm wondering, so I know a lot of cloud service providers have different kinds of load balancing, and each one of them has, like, whether or not one's local, one's regional, it can traverse the internet. So I'm going to say if it's a elastic load balancing, if it's a basic one, I want to say multiple availability zones within a region, because in order to cross regions, I feel like there's more specific load balancing that'll allow you to do that. But I'm torn between A and B, but I feel like A is a little bit too limiting. So I'm going to say B. Let's see what else. Number 3. Amazon CloudWatch offers which type of monitoring plans? Choose 2 answers. I have no clue, girl. That's why I'm here. Basic, detailed, diagnostic, precognitive, or retroactive? All right, this is going to be a guessing game. So I'm going to say which type of monitoring plan? I'm going to say everyone already does basic. They only offer 2. I'm going to say basic and diagnostic. I have no clue. Why would that even be an assessment question if I haven't even gone through any of the things yet? Like, why would you ask me that? Okay, 4. An Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2 instance, and an Amazon Virtual Private Cloud subnet can send and receive traffic from the internet when which of the following conditions are met? This is a choose 3. And if you know me from previous ones, I hate choose 3 because they don't make no sense. Why would you ask me to choose that many? Pick that many options. All right, A. NACLs, or Network Access Control List, and security groups rules disallow all traffic except relevant internet traffic. Fair. Well, not all. Fair. Network ACLs and security groups rules allow relevant internet traffic. I'm going to put a question mark there. C. Attach an internet gateway to the Amazon VPC and create a subnet route table to send all non-local traffic to that IGW. I'm going to skip that one. Attach a virtual private gateway to the Amazon VPC and create subnet routes to send all non-local traffic to that VPG. I'm going to put a question mark against that one too. The Amazon EC2 instance has a public IP address or elastic IP address. I don't feel that one's relevant. Instance does not need a public IP when using. Okay. So the way I typically do questions is I read all the answers and then I'll go back. So what is this asking us, right? So it's saying an EC2 instance in a Amazon VPC, virtual private cloud, can send and receive traffic from the internet when which of the following conditions are met. Now, network access control lists and security groups disallow all. So like these 2 will trip you up, right? Because when you're putting in firewall rules, the way that firewall rules and ACL control lists typically go is that when I rule where I'm saying allow port 80, allow port 443, allow these ports or allow these rules and these conditions. And then if the traffic does not meet any of these conditions, then deny all. Because typically firewalls go from the top down. So if I put a deny all and then put my ruling underneath it, the traffic won't come through because automatically from the number 1 says deny all. So therefore none of my traffic is going to come through. So that's why I'm leaning towards doing A rather than allowing traffic, because again, it's kind of inherently telling you to disallow all traffic except relevant information. So I'm going to say A is my first one because it's asking for 3, which is ridiculous. What is my other 2? So this one has to do with attaching an internet gateway to my virtual private cloud, create a subnet route table to send all traffic to send all non-local traffic to that internet gateway. I want to say yes. Attach a virtual private gateway to the VPC, create a subnet route to send all. So I want to say C, because virtual private gateway to me sounds like, and I'm not very good at networking, but to me, virtual private gateway sounds like traffic that would be just within my private environment, not necessarily going out to the internet. So I'm going to go with C. And then my last one, I'm assuming, has to come from these two. The EC2 instance has a public IP address or an IP, or it does not need a public address. I definitely think it does need a public IP address in order to talk to the internet. I think if you were just, I think if you were just sending traffic within your own environment, then you wouldn't need a public IP address, because you're not talking to the public, talking to the, your private environment. Cool. Oh my God, another choose three. Why would you do this to me? All right, number 5. If you launch 5 EC2 instances in an Amazon virtual private, I'm gonna just do the abbreviations because I don't have time to read each one of them. So if you launch 5 EC2 instances in a VPC without specifying a security group, the instances will be launched into a default security group that provides which of the following? Crap, I feel like I know this one because I've definitely done this before in an environment where the security group was that when I first started out, it did not specify a security group. Cool. So I definitely know that they can communicate with each other. If I'm not mistaken, most of the resources that you deploy, most of the resources that you deploy in your environment can talk to one another. They just probably cannot talk to the outside world. So B is out for me. C, all inbound traffic will be allowed to the 5 Amazon EC2 instances. No, they will not. So D. And then all outbound traffic will be allowed. Oh, wait, you got me. Sugar honey iced tea. Is it inbound or outbound? That is blocked. Okay, if I have no security group and I do not want anyone talking to my instances, so inbound traffic is not allowed. What did I pick? Yes, no inbound traffic will be allowed, but I believe you can do outbound traffic. Yes, I want to say. Let's pray. Okay, 6. Why? Hey. Okay. Your company wants to host its secure web application in AWS. The internal security policies consider any connections to or from the web server as insecure and require application data protection. Which approach would you use to protect data in transit for the application? Choose 2 answers. Now, keyword here, of course, let's just say key phrase here is data in transit, not data at rest. So choose 2 answers. You can either use BitLocker to encrypt data, use HTTPS with server certificate authentication, use an AWS identity and access management role, use SSL, TLS for database connection, and use XML for data transfer from client to server. Now the question again is that you're hosting a secure web application, and internal security policies consider any connection to or from the web server as insecure and require application data protection. Data in transit. So automatically I am taking E out. Oh, someone had said something. He said TLS. I was getting there. Once again, but you're on the right track. So automatically E is out for me. BitLocker, if I'm not mistaken, does encryption at rest. IAM role has nothing to do with this scenario, so to speak. So yes, as IP Manny says, I would definitely pick D for TLS and SSL, as well as HTTP, which is the secure protocol, of course, for web applications. So B and D. Ooh, D. Yeah, cool. Good job. All right, number 7. You have an, ooh, you're not gonna let me highlight that? You're just gonna skip that one line? You're just gonna, I feel you. Okay, cool. I'm gonna highlight what I can. Number 7, you have an application that will run on an EC2 instance. Application will make requests to Amazon Simple Storage Service, which is S3, and Amazon Dynamo DB. Using best practices, what type of AWS identity and access management identity should you create for your application to access the identified services? So this has to do with IAM. So what it's asking is that your application is going to make requests from one service, which is S3, and another service, which is DynamoDB. Using best practices, what type of AWS or IAM identity should you create? You have role, you have user, you have group, and you have directory. Now, let's see. If I have an application run on EC2 and I want it to make multiple requests, I think the thing, so I'm stuck here now on role and user. I'm going to say role. And that's crazy because I was just doing this for GCP. So the reason why I would say role, if this applies in the same, if IAM applies in the same way that GCP does, and I always try to tell people, like when you're studying for multiple certifications, most of the cloud vendors have these same services, but the services, they might have like some nuances that might be different. They're of course going to call their services different names. But when it comes to identity access management, for example, and in GCP, you would have a user, which would be an identity. So like me, for example, right? If I'm a user in a GCP environment and I need access to create virtual machines, right? So I would give me compute, what's called compute admin role. And that means that my user account, would be like, we'll just say Dominique at testcompany.com, that my user account is assigned this particular role that can access this particular service. Now, I don't know if that same thought process applies here in Amazon, right? I don't know if theirs is just, hey, if I'm a user, you can assign an application a user role, or do you assign it what's called an actual role? So I'm going to go with role simply because I wouldn't assign a user an application. I wouldn't assign a user to an application. I would assign a role to an application because a role in identity and access management is what has a set of permissions attached to it. So if you need to spin up virtual machines, you would have some kind of compute admin, compute engineer, compute viewer, XYZ role. Say if you need access to a security center, you would have a security center admin role or security viewer role or XYZ, but all of these are roles. So I'm going to go with A. It was very long-winded. Answer is A. My answer is A. 8. When a request is made to an AWS cloud service, the request is evaluated to decide whether it should be allowed or denied. The evaluation logic follows which of the following rules? Choose 3. Why? Why? Okay. A, an explicit allow overrides any denies. I don't know. By default, all requests are denied. That's fair. An explicit allow overrides the default. Excuse me, that seems fair. An explicit deny overrides any allows. That also seems fair. And by default, all requests are allowed. That doesn't seem safe and secure. I don't really think they would do that. So let's say you have to choose 3. A request is made to a cloud service. It's evaluated. What's logical? So I think E is out because I would hope that things aren't allowed by default. So that leaves these other 4. So an explicit allow overrides any denies, or an explicit allow, or an explicit deny overrides any allows. Logic, evaluation. I get to choose 3. Okay, cool. So I'm definitely leaning towards D because I feel like If I'm explicitly denying something, it shouldn't go through, no matter what is allowed. I want to say by default, all requests are denied. And then an explicit allow will override the default, which is a deny, right? Because if I by default turn everything off, similar with firewalls, right? So if I by default, if I'm trying to think if the firewall logic would apply here. So if by default I have everything off and I explicitly put, okay, I would like to allow this port, I would like to allow this kind of traffic, XYZ, that would override any of the defaults. So I'm gonna go with B, C, and D. And again, we just gonna pray on it. All right. Uh-oh, not the Hadoops, because I hate this. Number 9. What is the data processing engine behind Amazon Elastic MapReduce EMR? Crap. So I remember studying this from before, and I definitely know, damn, how are they connected again? I want to say A, B, and C. I want to say A, B, and C because I feel like HBase was in regards to something else. But a ninja doesn't know, so we're going to say, you're just going to go with the default. I'm just going to say, he said, oh wait, it was only 1? I thought this was a choose 3. I'm sorry. They had me choosing 3 so many times that I'm just thinking I need to choose 3 for everything. Okay, so it's only 1. For Elastic MapReduce. I know Hadoop, Hive, and Pig are connected to databases, and I'm trying to think. So time I was studying databases, there was a whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different things associated with, and like Hadoop, Hive, and Pig made up some like triad of something. I'm gonna say MapReduce has to do. I feel like because I've taken away HBase, it might be HBase. Yeah, let's just go ahead and just randomly throw a letter out there, D, because my name starts with a D, and I'm just gonna, that's my default. Like when in doubt, put a D. I feel like that's a good way to study. Wait, I'm going too far. Okay, 10. What type of AWS Elastic Beanstalk environment tier provisions resources to support a web application that handles background processing tasks? What you asking, girl? What type of Beanstalk environment tier provisions resources to support a web application that handles background processing tasks? Web server environment, worker, database, batch. Oh. B. By simple process of elimination, it's asking what supports a web application that handles background processing tasks, and a worker would do something like that. I don't feel like the database does it. I don't feel like batch does it, nor would a web server. Wait. Or does it? Handles worker, no? I'm thinking too much again. Provisions, resources to support a web application that handles. I'm gonna say B. I'm gonna go with my first name. I'm not gonna think too much on it because I definitely said that at the beginning of this. You start thinking too much on an assessment, and it's an assessment. So I'm gonna go with whatever comes with me. So I'm gonna say B. All right. 11. What Amazon relational database services feature provides the high availability for your database? A regular maintenance window? No. Security groups? No. C, automatic backups? No. Or D, multi availability zone deployment. So that's how they get you. If you don't know, AZ stands for availability zone. It might be hard for you to answer that question because you'd be stuck on figuring out what does a multi-AZ deployment mean. So if it's asking for high availability, naturally you want to make sure that means you want your environment to, exactly what it says, always be available. So if you only deploy in one availability zone. So we'll say like US East 1, and something goes down in US East 1, which I'm not mistaken, that's what happened last week or the week before that, or something like that, where that entire availability zone went down. If you do not have another backup, or if your environment isn't redundant across other availability zones or maybe regions, then your stuff is going to go down. So I'm going to say D. Oh, 12. What administrative tasks are handled by AWS for Amazon Relational Database Services? Service databases. What? Let me read that again. What administrative tasks are handled by AWS for Amazon Relational Database Service databases? Choose 3, because again, always asking me to choose 3. Administrative tasks: regular backups, deploying virtual infrastructure, deploying the schema, patching the operating system, or setting up non-database accounts and privileges. So what is it asking? What administrative tasks are handled by AWS? So database services, I want to say that's a good one, because I don't think it's that. Oh wait, for example, tables and storage procedures. Actually, I do think it's that. Sorry. I don't think you patch. Setting up non-admin database accounts and privileges. Hold on, you want me to choose 3? Give me a, wait a minute. What does AWS handle? Regular backups of the database, possibly. That could be one. Deploying virtual infrastructure, yes. Possibly. Deploying the schema, possibly. Patching, no. Wait, I'm thinking of infrastructure. Databases. So that's tricky, because what if this is in IaaS platform, and I am in control. So within IaaS, I'm the one who has to patch the operating system in the database software. But it doesn't say that, because I'm thinking too much again. All right, cool. So this is, again, I kind of just, when I'm doing lives, I'm kind of just giving you my thought process. Okay, so choose 3. What does AWS handle? I'm going to say that they deploy the virtual infrastructure. They deploy the schema. I'm going to say B, C, and D. Ooh, excuse me. B, C, D. Cool. Patching. I put B, C, and D. The only reason why I didn't want to put patching is because I was deep diving too much into, if this is an infrastructure as a service and I'm setting up my own database within that, AWS wouldn't do that. But I don't know. Again, I don't know. I didn't read much into I don't work with databases, so I'm assuming based off of my knowledge of an infrastructure as a service platform that they wouldn't do that. But maybe they do for databases. Cool. That's me thinking too much. Number 13. Which of the following use cases is well suited for Amazon Redshift? A 500 terabyte data warehouse used for marketing analytics, a NoSQL unstructured database workload, a high traffic e-commerce web application. He said I'd provision it beforehand, I believe. You provision what? The database? You would deploy a database after setting up your infrastructure service. Maybe, again, I think I'm thinking too hard. So I agree with you. I put D for patching the operating system, but I'm clearly gonna have to read this book, unlike the last one where I was just skimming. I'm gonna read it. I promise. Okay. Amazon Redshift, which is wild because I feel like Amazon is the database. Okay, yeah. Yeah. I agree with you with everything that you're saying. Because Amazon Redshift is like a super popular service. That's what I get for being biased. Don't be biased, people. When you only learn, I'll be quiet, you're probably right. No, I was agreeing with you. Don't be quiet. Like you were right when you was like patching. Patching is, I think I was wrong in terms of thinking that patching only has to do with the infrastructure service. I think it also applies here as well. Okay, cool. Where was I? 13, Amazon Redshift. I ain't gonna lie, I forgot what Amazon Redshift is about. So we're gonna have to take a educated guess here. I'm gonna say this is out. And I'm gonna say web application is out. I wanna say Redshift, it is not a database. I won't look it up. I mean, it's not for web application. So these two are about databases. It's just about whether or not it's used for market analytics or unstructured data. I want to say market analytics because I just want to. I have no idea if that's right. Again, assessment test. 14, which of the following statements about Amazon DynamoDB secondary indexes is true? There can be many per table and they can be created at any time. There can only be one per table and it must be created when a table is created. There can be many per table. Am I bugging or did I read the same sentence twice? Okay, I know I wear glasses, but I know I'm not bugging here. Oh snap, my educated guess was right. IP Manny said Redshift is database that uses analytics. I'm out here. Cool. Thank you for that. I feel better. But not about this one because I feel like my eyes are bugging. Or maybe it's late and like I can't read. Which of the following statements about Amazon DynamoDB secondary index is true? There can be many per table and they can be created at any time. C says there can be many per table and they can be created at, okay, I know I'm not bugging. There can only be one per table and they must be created when the table is created. Either I'm smoking one right now or they messed up on this one. And I didn't smoke today. So there can be many per table and they can be created at any time. We're going to skip that one. 14 is not available for me. That's too much of a, uh-oh, did I mess it up? No. Notion is just stupid. And they need to fix that. Like every time you do like a command, it messes up. Anyway, what is the primary use case of an Amazon Kinesis firehose? Firehose. Ingest huge streams of data and allow custom processing of data in flight. B, ingest huge streams of data stored in Amazon S3, Amazon Redshift, or Amazon Elasticsearch service. Generate a huge stream of data from an Amazon S3 bucket. Generate a huge stream of data from Amazon DynamoDB. Cool. What is the primary use of Kinesis Firehose? Another educated guess because I have no clue because I have not dealt with Amazon Firehose before. So I want to say it has to do with huge streams of data because they all have to do, all of them say something about ingesting huge streams of data or generating huge streams of data. I want to say it ingests huge streams of data. I don't know why I want to say that. And it allows custom processing of data in flight. Does it store it? So I'm going to go with A again. Don't ask me why. It's just calling out to me right now. So I'm going to just go with it. We'll find out the answer at the end. But again, this assessment is supposed to show you like how much you need to study. So clearly I'm seeing how much I need to study. 16, your company has 17 terabytes of financial trading records that need to be stored for 7 years by law, good old compliance. Experience has shown that any record more than a year old is likely to be accessed. Which of the following storage plans meets these needs and is the most cost efficient in the most cost efficient manner? Uh-oh. Someone said me no, it doesn't store it. I believe it can store it in other services. So 15. Well, 15. I didn't say it can store it. I said it can do custom processing of data in flight. So if you're saying storing in other services, that's B. Huge stream of data and store it to other services. So you want to say B? I'm going to go with Mike. And I'm going to change my answer to B. I hope it's B. I'm going to call you out. I got you on Twitter. If it's not B. Cool. 16. So what had they asked me again? Which of the following storage plans meets the needs for a cost-efficient manner? Store the data on Amazon Block Store. Volume attached to large instances. I definitely know that's out because that's going to cost way too much money. B, store the data in S3 with lifecycle policies that change the storage class to Glacier and delete the object after 7 years. Okay, that's a possibility because it needs to be stored for 7 years. Experience shows that any record more than a year is unlikely to be accessed. So I can see why this one is saying after a year, delete it after 7 years. That makes sense. Store data in DynamoDB. We don't want to do that because that will also not be very cost efficient. And then store the data in Amazon Glacier Vault Lock. Now, naturally, the two answers that pop out to me would be Skit and then Amazon Glacier Vault Lock. Now, the reason why I don't want to automatically put it in Glacier Vault Lock, and Glacier Vault Lock is the most cost efficient way to kind of store anything because that's where you kind of archive things that you are not going to be accessing for a really long time. The reason why I'm not putting it there first is because they made it seem like things less than a year might be accessed, right? So like things 6 months ago, I might have to go back and double check. But if it's older than a year, then you can go ahead and put it in Glacier. So I'm going to go with B. I'm going to go with B. How many left do we have? Okay, cool. It's 25. That's what I thought. All right, 17. What must you do to create a record of who accessed your Amazon S3 data and from where? Would you enable CloudWatch, enable versioning, enable website hosting, enable server access logs, or create an IAM bucket policy? I wouldn't create an IAM bucket policy. That doesn't really quite make sense. I'm also going to cross out versioning because I don't want to know. I don't want to know versions. I want to know who's accessing my stuff. Website hosting also doesn't really make sense to me. So naturally, I would say CloudWatch logs or service access logs. Now, CloudWatch, if I'm not mistaken, is about events. Like it's logging application data, not necessarily user access data. I think. So I'm between A and D right now. Server access logs on the bucket. My gut is saying go with D, but my mind is saying go with CloudWatch. Metrics. Yes, metrics. That's the word. Exactly. Thank you. You know what, Mike? You out here because you know what I think because we've been in groups before and stuff. Like you know what I be trying to say. So yes, CloudWatch I think does metrics, whereas server access log does access. So I'm gonna go with D. Thanks for sorting my thoughts out for me. Okay, 18, almost there. Because what time is it? 5 o'clock. An S3 is an eventually consistent storage system. For what kinds of operations is it possible to get stale data as a result of eventual consistency? A get after a put of a new object, which means after we written something, we ask to pull it. A get or a list after a delete. A get after overwrite put to an existing key, or a delete after get of a new object. Okay. So if it's saying eventual consistency of a storage system, I kind of want to go for C, simply because I know when it comes to objects that are already existing, typically I've seen before that you can get stale data. So I'm going to go with C. I could be wrong though. All right, number 19, how is data stored in Amazon Simple Storage Service for high durability? Now this is different from the one before, which is saying high availability. Let me go ahead and hide that. That was saying high availability. This one's asking for high durability. So data is automatically replicated to other regions. Data is automatically replicated to different availability zones within a region. Data is replicated only if versioning is enabled on the bucket, or data is automatically backed up on taped and restored if needed. Now, how is data stored for high durability? I feel like replication is really it's actually for a whole bunch of things. So I can't even say what I wanted to say. I do know AWS has something about versioning though, and like having to turn it on and whether or not that will go across. I definitely don't think this is it. I want to say it's C, because I feel like it was weird where it doesn't automatically do it for you. You had to turn versioning on. I'm gonna see. 20, 5 more. Your company needs to provide streaming access to videos to authenticated users around the world. What is a good way to accomplish this? A, use an S3 bucket in each region with website hosting enabled. Am I going back? Sorry, I saw Mike wrote again. And I always get it after the fact. What did you say? Versioning. Yeah, that's why I wound up picking that one too. Okay, cool. 20, your company needs to provide streaming access, CDN. I agree. Streaming access to videos to authenticate users around the world. What's a good way to accomplish this? Use an S3 bucket in each region with website hosting enabled. Store the videos on an Amazon Block Store volume. Enable Amazon CloudFront with geolocation and signed URLs. Or run a fleet of EC2 instances to host the videos. I am leaning towards CloudFront, especially if it says authenticated users. Signed URLs is a way to do that because Block Store doesn't really make sense. And that's not like cost effective. And then putting a bucket out there with website hosting enabled. I mean, sure. For some reason, I'm going with CloudFront. I think CloudFront is what I think it is. So I'm going to go with C. I don't like having C's in a row. So we have 18, 19, and 20s, all 3 C's. And I don't like putting the same letter in a row because it makes me feel like I did something wrong. Okay, cool. Almost there. Which of the following are true about the AWS shared responsibility model? One of my favorites. Choose 3. It was too good to be true. We haven't had to choose 3 in a minute. Okay. So choose 3. Which of the following are true about the shared responsibility model? AWS is responsible for all infrastructure components. That is AWS cloud services that support customer deployments. That's true. Yep. Let's put an asterisk next to it. B, the customer is responsible for the components from the guest operating system upward, including updates, patches, antivirus software. That is true, definitely. C, the customer may rely on AWS to manage the security of their workload supported AWS. No. D, while AWS manages security of the cloud, well, actually, no. While AWS manages security of the cloud, security in the cloud is responsibility of the customer. There we go. But I'll read E for the hell of it. The customer must audit the AWS data centers personally to confirm the compliance of AWS systems and services. No. Cool. So D is a definite. Manages AWS. All cloud service providers manage security of the cloud, but security for every user and organization is responsibility in the cloud. What did I say? B is a definite. The customer is responsible for the components of the guest operating system. You're doing security patches, antivirus, all of that is your responsibility. And then A, AWS is responsible for all infrastructure. So A, C, I should have wrote this down because I don't remember now. D. Yes. Cool. 22. Which process in an Amazon simple workflow service workflow implements a task? Don't know, girl. What process in an Amazon simple workflow service workflow implements a task? I'm gonna say implements. We got decider, activity worker, workflow starter, business rule. Implements, I think is the key word here. Because I automatically want to go to workflow starter. But if I think of literally the definition of a workflow starter, does that really apply here? Activity worker or decider? What did I say before? Oh, I said when in doubt, press D, but I don't feel like D applies here. When in doubt, go with the second best initial, which is A. Yeah, let's do A because I have no idea. Like I want to say workflow starter, but I don't feel like that's it. Like I don't feel like that's right. I'm gonna go A. Okay, 20. Move. Which of the following is true? Okay, cool. Which of the following is true if you stop in Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance with an Elastic IP address in an Amazon VPC? Which of the following is true if you stop an EC2 instance with an Elastic IP address in a VPC? The instance is disassociated from its Elastic IP address and must be reattached. The instance remains associated. The IP address is released from your account, or the instance is disassociated from the IP address temporarily while you restart the instance. I want to say, I believe it still remained with it. I think you have to like actually detach it. All right, we have two more. Which Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2 pricing model allows you to pay a set hourly price for compute, giving you full control over when the instance launches and terminates? Let me highlight it again. Which EC2 pricing model allows you to pay a set hourly price for compute, giving you full control when the instance launches and terminates? I'm going to say on demand, because dedicated instances doesn't really launch or not. Spot instance, reserve instance. I'm going to say on demand. Last one. Under what circumstances will EC2 instances store data not be what? Under what circumstances will Amazon EC2 instance stored data not be preserved? When the associated security groups are changed, when the instance is stopped or rebooted, when the instance is rebooted or terminated, when the instance is stopped or terminated. None of the above. When is it not preserved? Meaning it's gone forever. I want to say, because I feel like when it's stopped, it's saved. Yeah, I feel like when it has a stop option, it's automatically saved. Or like it's saved. I want to go with C. Again, I feel like I have too many C's. Like you ever get that? Like when you have too many of one letter in all of your answers. I feel like I see C everywhere. This is like staring at me right now. Okay, cool. Let's stop it. Let's see how we did. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I will actually meant to make it bigger. So we can see the already got number 1 wrong. But it's an assessment, so it's okay. I'm not going to beat myself on it. The whole point of having a study group and creating a study plan is to figure out how bad I actually am and how I can improve. So improvement and growth. Cool. Let's see how many you got wrong. I'm going to highlight them. So this was wrong. This equals D. So auto-scaling may cause you to reach limits of other services, such as the default number of EC2 instances you can currently launch within a region. Okay, so there is a region limit in which you can spin up an EC2 instance, and that's 20. Reasonable. Cool. B, we got right. Elastic load balancing allows you to distribute traffic across a bunch of availability zones. Number 3 is A and C. Dang, I was in my head. I said detail 2. So 3 is A and B. I don't think I need to highlight it. I can just leave it as is. Okay, 4, B, C, and E. We were close. We got A, C, and E. You looking for your charger? It's over. I'll give it to you in a second. Yeah, 4 is B, C, and E. You must do the following to create a public subnet. You must attach an IGW, create a subnet route, configure NACLs. Okay, cool. We were close. So was it BCE? Cool. 5, ADE. Cool, we got that right. 6, B and D. 7 is A. Don't create an IAM user. So, okay, I was right. Don't create, and I'm going to go back actually. So 5 was AD and E. If a security group is not specified at launch, then the default security group will happen, and the default allows communication between all the resources. It allows outbound traffic, but does not allow any other traffic, which is inbound, which is secure by default. B6 is to protect data in transit, as we said, HTTPS and SSL TLS as IP Manny so thankfully had said. 7 is A, we got right. Don't create an IAM user or a group in order to pass the credentials. We want to create a role, which is what I thought with the thought process for IAM and another cloud vendor applies here. Number 8, B, C, and D. When a request is made, we got that right. AWS service decides whether a given request should be allowed or denied. By default, all requests are denied. An explicit allow overrides a default, and then any explicit deny overrides any allows. That's what I thought with the firewall rules. Cool. We're a little bit on a roll. Let's see if we keep it going. Oh, not so much. Number 9, we got wrong. I spoke too soon. Okay, we put D. And I feel like this is the one where I was like, when in doubt, put D because of my name. So number 9, oh yeah, EMR uses Apache Hadoop. I could not remember if it was Pig or Hive or HBase or your mom. I don't know who it was. I can remember. I was about to say your mom. I'm sorry. That's my default for everything. If I don't know, it's usually your mama. Anyway, 10, B. An environment tier, we got right. Actually, I want to highlight. I said I wasn't going to highlight, but I'm going to highlight. So like visually need to see the incorrectness that's happening. All right, cool. 10, B, we got right. An environment tier whose web application runs background jobs is known as a worker tier. See, I knew it was a worker. Wait, this is not the one I was thinking about with worker, is it? Okay, whatever. 11 is D, multiple availability zones, which again, I said if you didn't know what AZ stood for, this will kind of throw you off. So AZ stands for availability zones. That will help you with availability in those kinds of like high availability, multiple zones and regions kind of questions. No abbreviations. Abbreviations will get you on any of these exams in security, like all of them. Okay, so 11 is right. 12 is A, B, and D. So RDS will launch an EC2 instance. It will install the database, handle all patching, perform regular backups. All right. That's good to know because that differs from other infrastructures that I was thinking about. Cool. Scroll down a little bit. 13A, we got that right. Amazon Redshift is a petabyte scale data warehouse. 14D said not available. Yo, really, that question, it was the same answers for A, B, C, and D. I mean, A, C, B, and D. So I'm not going to count that against me. 15 is B, we got right. Kinesis Family provides functionality to ingest large streams of data and then can save it to any of the 3 storage services. Shout out to Mike. 16, B as well. Amazon S3 and Glacier are the most cost-effective storage services, like I mentioned. D, did we get that right? 17, yes. Server access logs provide a record of access to an object. 18, C, we got right. Amazon S3 provides read after consistency for puts to new objects, but eventually consistent for existing keys, which I've seen before. So if you already have something that's existing and then you try to get a get after it, it'll be stale. All right, 19 is B. Again, I felt like I had too many C's happening up in here. So let me go put that down. 19 equals B. And let me give me my visual wrong. Cool. So AWS will never transfer data between regions unless directed by you. I have to go back to that question because I thought is achieved by replicating your data geographically to different availability zones. I know they don't use tapes. What did I put? I'm gonna go back to that one. 28C, we got right. CloudFront provides the best user experience. It is an edge location. That's what I thought. CloudFront is edge. So like if I wanted to provide services to a whole bunch of people around the world, I would use an edge service, but I just didn't know if their edge service called CloudFront or not. It is. Okay, 21. We were close. It's A, B, D, but we did A, C, and D. So let me, we're close though, A, B, and D. Oh, wait, did I just delete an answer? Cool. 22, an activity worker is a processor thread. I think I have put, I forgot what I put. The other one where I said, oh, it sounds good. But I should have put activity worker. All right. 23 is B. In an Amazon VPC, Elastic IP remains associated. 24 is C. You set an hourly price for an on-demand instance. And then 25 is D. The data in instance persists only during the lifetime of its associated instance. If an instance is stopped or terminated, then the instance does not persist. Oh, I'm an idiot. I read that wrong. I think I was thinking of if you stop an instance without saving. So like, or if an instance is just rebooted in the middle of doing something, it doesn't have a chance to save. I think that's what I was thinking. Not the fact that, of course, if I stop something and terminate it, that it wouldn't exist anymore. That just doesn't make sense. Maybe I wasn't reading. Reading is fundamental in tests because it will trick you. And then that could be the one question deciding between whether or not you pass or you fail. Cool. So we are already at an hour, which is how long I expected this live to go on to be. I would like to do chapter notes though. I'm going to do notes for chapter 1, 2, and 3 this week. My plan was to do lives and just do the chapter questions like we just did. So each chapter that you see here has a set of, I want to say maybe 20 questions at the end of it. So I was just going to go through that as a way for people to get extra practice. If you're interested in notes, let me know. Then I'll do a live on notes and I'll just maybe be half an hour really quickly of me skimming through notes. It won't be a really big deep dive, but let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining this one. It'll still be available on my Twitter. Yes, it'll still be available, I think, for the next 24 hours. And then this gets moved over to Patreon. So if you want to see more, if you want to come back and revisit it, you can join the Patreon. One of my tiers allows you to view the videos that we'll have here. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Also, if you signed up for the form for the Google what am I saying? If you filled out the Google form in order to study with me on Sundays during the Zoom call, which I will also do another practice test like I've done before. I'm real big on practice tests, as you can see. Then I will be getting back to you this week. What content am I using? So this book, let me go all the way up. So, whoa. This is the AWS Certified Solutions Architect book, official study guide. This is what I'm using for the lives. For the test, for the practice questions on Zoom, that's going to be coming from a different medium. So I collect those questions from a whole bunch of different sources. I kind of look at the practice tests. So I get some practice tests from Udemy. I get some from some other study resources. So I use that for the study group. And then when I do my AWS demos, I also get that from like, when I do lab demos, I also get that from like Udemy and some other, what do we call those? Study vendors. I'm trying to figure out the word for them. So yeah, that's where I get all the content from. I just kind of collect, because I don't want to use just one medium to study from, because I feel like each one has something different. So cool. Thank you so much. And I will see you, if not tomorrow, then next week.